Here to share with you some big news. And my big news is I am starting a podcast and it's dropping today. It is going to be called the Prepared School Psych Podcast, and I am so excited about it. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jenny Ponzurek. I have been in the field of school psychology for over 20 years. Like many of you, I chose this field because of its unique combination of my love for psychology and my love for education. As a school psych, I really enjoyed working with individual students and families. But during that time, I also began working on system change at the different schools I was assigned to. I helped to create better RTI, we'd call them MTSS systems, that supported all of the students that were struggling in school. I worked in a school district for 13 years before becoming an administrator. I chose to try on the administration role, hoping to expand my support of students from my individual schools in my district to the whole county. After 3 years, I decided to focus more on training and supporting school psychologists and districts across the state. I today provide trainings on topics ranging from learning disabilities and dyslexia to report writing, and I love providing trainings. I am also the founder of the Prepared School Psych Community, which is an online platform meant to help support school psychologists through wonderful resources, videos, and live support. Now, why did I do a podcast? I wanted to create this podcast to expand my support once again. At the heart of what I do each and every day is for the students. I personally loved school growing up. It was a place where, that's where how I really shined. And I know that many students don't have that same experience. And I love that school psychologists get to devote their time and energy to helping students and their families. Now, today I work to create trainings and resources that are practical for school psychs so that in turn they can help support students in the best way possible. Being able to bring on guests with a range of experiences who can also bring practical tips. This is why I started this podcast. So many of us work feeling very isolated at our schools, and I wanted an opportunity to help build more community amongst everyone in this amazing field. When school psychologists feel supported, it only benefits the students, staff, and families that they work with. So I hope you're as excited as I am. Let's go ahead and dig into this podcast more. All right, so let's talk about some of these first couple of episodes. The first couple of episodes include a number of interviews with guests. One of the topics I want to pursue in this podcast is that of leadership. I do believe we are all leaders of our own lives. And in addition, school psychologists are often in leadership positions within their school sites, whether that's just the leader of your assessment team, right? You might have a leadership role in the MTSS process at your school site. However, not all school psychs feel comfortable in these positions of leadership. So I am hoping that some of our current as well as some of our upcoming episodes will provide some tips for those that need that. Now, there are so many aspects to the field of school psychology, and I'm excited to highlight some of the topics we might not get a chance to hear about all of the time. One of our first episodes is with Dr. Amy Miranda, who will be talking about neurodiverse affirming practices. What an interesting topic. We're also sharing some behavior tips and considerations for manifestation determinations. I have to admit, every time I've done an interview so far, I am loving them because I get to learn along the way, just like all of you do as listeners. Now, as you are listening to different episodes, I encourage you to reach out if you have any additional questions or comments from any of the episodes. You will notice that sometimes I might even have a quick follow-up episode after recording an interview because something a guest said sparked something that I want to talk about more. But if you have questions or want us to dig deeper into a topic, you can always leave that information on my website, jennyponzurek.com podcast as we have a place for you to share some ideas for topics. I hope you enjoy these first couple of episodes. And again, if you have more ideas, we would love to hear them. So go ahead and share those ideas over on the website. Guess what? We are doing a giveaway. I love a free giveaway. So to be eligible for this giveaway, you need to, number one, subscribe to the podcast. We're going to be on 3 different platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Podcasts. So whichever one wherever you like to listen to your podcast, go over there and subscribe to our new podcast, The Prepared School Psych, and then download the first episode. And then, of course, listen to that first episode and then give us a rating. For those of you who have never rated a podcast before, you'll have a choice between 1 and 5 stars. Leave a review along with your rating, and then all you have to do is send us a screenshot of your review to this email address, thepreparedschoolpsych@gmail.com. Once again, thepreparedschoolpsych, PSYCH, @gmail.com. So all you need to do to enter this giveaway is subscribe to the podcast, download and listen to the first episode, give us a review, and then send us a screenshot of that review to this email address, thepreparedschoolpsych@gmail.com. We're going to pick a winner. What are we giving away? A gift card, $25 to Amazon for you to use on whatever's going to make your life a little bit easier. So once we receive all of the reviews, we're going to pick a winner. When are we going to pick this winner? Friday, February 2nd. So don't delay. Subscribe, download, listen, and review today so that you can get entered on into our giveaway. Don't forget to send us a screenshot of your review to thepreparedschoolpsych@gmail.com. Hey everyone, I am here with Kelly Mobeck, leadership coach and the founder of Kelly J. Mobeck Coaching and Training. Kelly was so gracious with her time, and she is one of my first interviews for the Prepared School Psych podcast. And I wanted to follow up with her and talk a bit about podcasts for school psychologists. Now, Kelly, I know you're not a school psych yourself, but you have experience with our amazing field for many, many years. So, first question, I am curious, why do you think having a podcast about the field of school psychology is so valuable?
Ooh, great question. Because because school psychology and the people that work in the field deserve it. They deserve it. I think that, school psychologists, this work is so incredibly important. The impact that you make with children and families and so on and so on and so on is priceless. And it's also hard work. It's hard work. So I think that the more resources that school psychologists have, people that work in the school psychology industry, the more resources, the better, right? The better. Because I think, kind of like in any field, sometimes it can feel a little lonely. It can feel like, which way do I go? And so the fact that there's your podcast that can really, it's like Jenny and your guests are in their pocket, helping them along the way is huge. And something that I know about you is you're always looking at what's wanted and needed, right? To really support people in school psychology. And then you create it and then you invent it. So I just want to acknowledge you for taking this kind of leap of faith and creating it and bringing this amazing resource to all of them. It's going to be amazing.
Thank you. I'm excited about it, obviously.
Yes, yes.
So, how do you think your episode, as well as our other upcoming ones about such a wide range of topics, how do you think they're going to support school psychologists?
Well, I'll start backwards. I imagine and trust that you have the most amazing guests coming on, that are going to be able to share their knowledge and thoughts and tips and strategies and all the things, as well as everything that you bring to the table. So I can't imagine that it would not support them. So I think it's going to be a tremendous resource, specifically the episode that I did being a leadership coach. And I have had the pleasure and honor of working with school psychologists, working with licensed educational psychologists too, right? So I do get the industry, right? I get it to the extent that I get it, right? And what I find is that you know, a lot of us, we just have the same things that stop us, or, how do we get started, or, you know, circumstances, things like that. So I think that bringing in leadership coaching into school psychology, right, into that being a resource for them is going to help them be prepared. It's going to help them take the lead. It's going to help them not be caught up in circumstances or feel alone. It's going to help them be able to move through it. I think it's going to help them, Jenny. That's what I think. I think it's going to be a great resource from a different angle,
Well, thank you for all of that.
Yeah.
Well, for everyone listening, if you had not yet taken the time to listen to Kelly's episode, definitely check it out soon. I love talking to those in the world who support growing leaders, as I believe all school psychs are leaders themselves. And I know you believe everyone is a leader in their life.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping you're going to hear some more episodes in the future on this topic in general. So until then, thank you again, Kelly, because I know your time is so valuable. Thanks for hopping on really quick with me today.
My pleasure. Happy. I'm excited. Congratulations.
Thank you. We have a question. I am graduating this spring. How will the podcast help me with finding a new job? Now, I am hoping that some of our initial episodes are really going to help support you in the interview process first and foremost. Interviewing can be so stressful. So we're going to share some tips and strategies all about interviewing. Also, during graduate school, you learn about so many topics. We're trying to shove so much information into your brain over your time in graduate school. And you might be concerned that you're going to be asked a question about a topic that you haven't thought about in a while. So, I'm also hoping that our episodes will help kind of remind your brain of some of the topics that maybe you haven't had to deal with over the past few months in your current position. And by the way, good luck to everyone who's interviewing this spring. I am back with Dr. Amy Miranda. If you do not know, she was one of our first guests in our podcast, The Prepared School Psych, and she got to talk a lot about one of our favorite topics, neurodiversity and neurodiverse affirming practices. If you haven't yet listened to that episode, definitely go back and take a listen. There's some great information and some wonderful resources that are in there. But I wanted to ask Amy a couple of extra questions today, just about podcasts in general. So we're going to kick off. Why do you think having a podcast about the field of school psychology is so valuable?
Oh, Jenny, for so many reasons, and for those listening, I'm sure they can relate, but for some of us, we work in districts that have many school psychologists. For some of us, we work in districts that have just a few. For some of us, we might be the only school psychologist providing the support. And so having a resource like this, where we are listening to other school psychologists talk about topics that are important to them, is so important. I think it gives us a space to learn outside of the typical setting. We're not sitting in a boardroom listening to a professional development session. We're in our car listening to this on the way to work. We're getting excited learning about new topics, but it really helps us build community. And I think that is so important for school psychologists, just no matter where they are.
Well, and you talked about listening to it like maybe on your way to work or something like that. One of the things I do know about you is you kind of figure out all those different snippets of time in your day. I know you listen to lots of podcasts, but you also love to listen to books on audio.
Mhm.
Tell our listeners, how do you get all of this content into that brain of yours?
Well, my AirPods are in most of the day, but I love, like Jenny mentioned, listening to audiobooks, and I listen to fun audiobooks. I listen to informational audiobooks, and I love, love, love podcasts. So I'm always got something on in the car if I'm going to work, if I'm driving home. Really listening to stuff helps me decompress. I go on walks every day, so I'm always listening to something then. And really, anytime I'm doing chores around the house, I have my AirPods in, or it's in my back pocket playing for my whole house to hear. But my husband's usually like, I don't really know about that book. And I'm like, I know about that book. I'm going to listen to it. Another thing is when you listen to stuff on audio, you can make it go a little bit faster. So I might do things a little, like at 1.5 speed, which at first I was like, wow. But I'm so used to it that when I hear things on like 1.0 speed, I'm like, these people are speaking so slowly. But really, any time in my day that I have to just do a chore, to take a walk, to put something away at work, I listen to it usually at my lunchtime. Obviously, we're busy all day, so we can't be listening to it when we're working, but on my way to work, on my way home. And I've just found it to be so relaxing, and I love learning about new things. So I sneak it in every chance I can.
I am also definitely a podcast listener in the car. So whether I'm doing a 10-minute commute or a 3-hour commute
Yep.
to wherever I'm training, sometimes I get excited when I have those longer car drives because I'm like, where's a longer podcast I can listen
Oh,
to?
yeah.
But I'm curious because some of the things, maybe not the fun books, but the informational books you listen to or the school psych podcast you listen to, what are your tips? Because one of the things that happens to me, especially like while I'm driving, is I want to write something down. And I don't know, don't tell a police officer. I have been one who have like pulled out a notebook from my backpack and I'm not even looking at it. I literally will just write really big, like on a blank piece of paper, like don't forget this type of thing. So what are some safer ways people can, like, what do you do when you all of a sudden
Yeah.
hear the nugget? You're like, oh, I want to remember that.
Great question. And that kind of leads me to what I do with that information too. But some ways I've been known to remember moments or things to go back and like, okay, if I am driving, I'm like, oh, I want to go back to this particular moment. Sometimes I take a screenshot of my phone of the time, like of the
The
moment that I'm in.
timestamp.
Yes, because then I can remember to go back. But when I am at my house or not in the car, and I listen to things that I think could either be helpful for parents, could be helpful for me, maybe I want to add it as a recommendation to my report, something like that. I honestly have a running document on my phone and my computer. It's just in Google, so I can access it on any device, that I just write these things down. Like, and I list the book it's from, and then what I want to remember. So when I have time, if it's a recommendation for a report, I can go back and add it to, I have a running like recommendations list. I can add it there. And I try to include a reference if appropriate, that I can feel accomplished. Like, look at all these references. I've listened to all these books, but also people can go back and of course reference it themselves. So I am guilty of the same thing, Jenny, making sure that I go back. That's kind of my approach when I don't have accessible hands to write stuff down, is just remember that moment and go back to it. Also, on some apps, you can like highlight certain moments, particularly with audiobooks, you can like flag a moment. And that might be a strategy for folks too, if it's more of an informational piece that they don't want to forget.
All right, my next question, how do you think your episode, as well as our other upcoming ones, will help support school psychologists?
For mine in particular, I am hoping that it's a topic that folks haven't heard much about. And so it really can be an opportunity to learn more about how to use the information that I share in their day-to-day practice. And same for the other folks. They can be sharing perspectives that perhaps you have never thought of, or it's never crossed your mind in that way, or how can I apply that skill to my job, or that piece of information. And I think that right there is going to be what makes our episodes so important for school psychologists, teaching new information and sharing a perspective that perhaps you haven't thought about before. And that is where the growth comes in, right? We can grow as school psychologists just by thinking about things kind of outside of our typical box of information. And that's going to go really far in the way that we support students and support our campuses.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being one of the guests in our early episodes and our Prepared School Psych podcast. And thank you for everything that you do for the field. And I hope everyone enjoys your episode as much as
Me
I
too.
did.
Me too. Thank you, Jenny.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon. So all you need to do to enter this giveaway is subscribe to the podcast, download and listen to the first episode, give us a review, and then send us a screenshot of that review to this email address, thepreparedschoolpsych@gmail.com. We're going to pick a winner. What are we giving away? A gift card, $25 to Amazon for you to use on whatever's going to make your life a little bit easier. So once we receive all of the reviews, we're going to pick a winner. When are we going to pick this winner? Friday, February 2nd. So don't delay. Subscribe, download, listen, and review today so that you can get entered on into our giveaway. Don't forget to send us a screenshot of your review to thepreparedschoolpsych@gmail.com. All right, we have another question. I recently graduated and just landed my first job. Congratulations. I am so overwhelmed with jumping into a job mid-year. Okay, we can all relate to that, right? How will this podcast help me become less overwhelmed? All right, so 2 quick tips, and then let's talk about the podcast and how it can help. Number 1, anytime you are feeling overwhelmed, anytime you're in a new district, you're at a new school, don't be afraid to ask for help. I don't care if you've been a school psych for 20 minutes or for 20 years. Every time I go to a new school site, a new district, there are just different ways that people do things. There are different procedures. There are different systems. They literally call the same piece of paper different things in this district versus that district. So if you get confused, don't be afraid to ask for help. All right? It's very normal, very normal. Second, take a break. I know you don't have any time to take a break. I know this, right? Because you're always feeling behind, right? You've already said you're feeling overwhelmed. This is totally normal, right? But the problem in this field is that there's really no like catching up. There's no day that we wake up and we're like, I don't even know what I'm going to do today because I'm all caught up on my work. Absolutely not. So since we're always feeling behind, guess what? It's the best time. Just take a break. Take a 5 or 10-minute break, maybe eat some food, right? If you're one of those people who never ever take a break for food, take a break, have some food, have a snack, something, take a walk, listen to a quick breathing meditation. And if you're thinking you don't even have 5 minutes, take 1 minute, just take 1 minute and just close your eyes and breathe, right? We're going to need that. That's going to help us with that overwhelmed feeling, right? So how can this podcast help you? I am hoping that our episodes, that some are a little shorter, some are a little bit longer, but my hope is that they're going to include tips, practical strategies. There's something you can listen to on your commute, right? There's something you can listen to while you're cleaning up the kitchen after dinner or you're taking a walk, right? We all need to find our people. Right? A lot of times we feel very isolated as school psychologists, and we need to find our people. So I hope that I can become one of your people, and so can my guest, so that we can expand your network, your community. And once again, congratulations on landing that first job, and good luck. Hi, everyone. It's Jenny Ponzurek, and I am here with Melissa Wood, President of the California Association of School Psychologists and Director of Special Education Programs at the Panama Buena Vista Union School District in Bakersfield, California. Melissa was so gracious with her time, and she is one of my first interviews for the Prepared School Psych podcast. So I wanted to follow up with Melissa and talk a little bit about podcasts for school psychologists. So first question, Melissa, why do you think having a podcast about the field of school psychology is so valuable?
I think the ease and convenience of being able to take this information anywhere you go. I'm someone that listens to podcasts when I'm getting ready in the morning, when I'm dropping kids off from school, as I'm driving to work. I'm listening to not only fun podcasts, I listen to the Lozano podcast about the special ed law stuff I should be considering at work. I listen to inspirational podcasts. I like podcasts. I just, that's a really great way to stay up to date, to connect with other school psychologists virtually. And so for me, it's the ease and convenience. And so it's something that I already do. And I think a lot of people already do. And it's really important to hear how people are doing things. And like I said, to connect. So I'm a big, big supporter of this.
Okay, so now I have to ask, what are your fun podcasts? I'll start with mine.
Okay.
Mine are all true crime or about cults. So what are yours?
Okay, very similar. I actually have my podcasts Library Open.
Uh-huh.
I love Radiolab. I feel like even if the topic is like, oh, I'm not sure, I always learn something really interesting or valuable from that podcast. TED Talks, I listen to, aside from the crime podcasts like yourself or Colts, which I love that stuff, a lot of like ghost story podcasts. I love the supernatural stuff. I love The Moth. Do you listen to The Moth?
I've heard some episodes from there, yes.
Yes, I love The Moth. And then a really fun one is Smartless with Jason Bateman, and I forget the other, Will Arnett and Sean Hayes. It's fun. They interview celebrities. So those are my guilty pleasure ones. Like I said, I listen to some other ones that pertain to my role as administrator or as a school psychologist, and those are fun. But yeah, the crime podcast. My husband kind of worries sometimes, but I love it. I love all of it. Yeah.
Well, how do you think your episode on the Prepared School Psych podcast, as well as our other upcoming ones, how do you think they're going to help support school psychologists?
Well, hopefully school psychologists will be inspired to advocate on behalf of their profession. Maybe they'll get some information on how they can better prepare for their school year, or stay organized, and then find a way to be connected to other school psychologists in their area. We talked a lot about the local affiliates and how they're so important to supporting school psychologists and the growth of our new school psychologists. And so hopefully, if they're not already a member, they'll reach out to that local affiliate in their area and find some connection, some information that will help them in their job. And then selfishly find a way to the state association on a committee and to join, because we need to hear the voices of our school psychologists if we're going to do the good work that we do. So
Awesome.
those are my hopes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, if you've not yet taken time to listen to Melissa's episode, definitely play it on your commute to work today or tomorrow. I love talking to school psychologists. I love talking about leadership. So I'm hoping that you're going to hear some more episodes in the future from other school psych leaders in our field. So until then, thank you again, Melissa, as I know your time is so very valuable.
Thank you, Jenny. I had a great time.
All right. See you all later. I want to thank all of my initial guests for their time, their participation, and their insights for the launch of this podcast. As I mentioned, this podcast purpose is to support you. So please feel free to share your ideas and thoughts on future topics by heading over to my website, jennyponzerk.com/podcast, and let me know your ideas. Your time is so valuable. And if you are spending time on your commute listening to this podcast, I want it to be worth your time. Remember to be entered in our $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. Subscribe to the podcast. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Podcasts. Download the first episode and leave us a review. Then take a screenshot of that review and email it to us over at thepreparedschoolpsych@gmail.com. Once again, thepreparedschoolpsych@gmail.com. We are picking our winner on Friday, February 2nd, so don't delay. Thank you all. I am so excited about this podcast. Cannot wait. That concludes another episode of the Prepared School Psych podcast, and I hope today's discussion left you feeling not just informed, but empowered to take action. Remember, every conversation we have, every resource we share, and every student we champion builds a bridge toward a more inclusive and effective learning landscape. So tune in, share your voice, and join us as we build a collective force for impactful change. Head over to my website at jennyponzerk.com to join our vibrant community of school psychologists in the Prepared School Psych community. Together, let's keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep making a difference. One student, one solution, one empowered educator